Is the United Nations linked to President Trump's impeachment? Well, you're about to find out. Not only that, but you're also going to find out that the United Nations was the biggest loser ever since President Trump got into office. But before I get into this bombshell report, just a quick break. The new Patriot Brother X2020 flashlight has arrived, and as I've stated before, this thing is amazing. Not only can you charge your cell phone, you can see that right there. This thing is solar powered, so you could literally take it in the sun and charge your cell phone at the same time. It's got a wire cutter here in the event that you need to cut your seatbelt or even break a window. This thing is good for the car. It's also got different settings in the event of some kind of emergency here if you need to set on some kind of flashing lights, and it's got an alarm. I won't play that because it's kind of loud, as well as different settings on the flashlight itself. But this thing is 3,000 mAh battery life. It's amazing. And it's got a compass as well as a magnet on it. Now, with all the common threats to our freedoms, I'm talking about the chaos and riots breaking out in Hong Kong, all the power outages there in California, which you're definitely going to need one of these, not to mention some of the mass illegal immigration bringing in crime. Our safety is at risk on a daily basis. One of the best things that you can do to protect yourself and your loved ones is to get one of these Patriot flashlights at patriotflashlight.com. This is an amazing gift for the holiday season, and right now you can get this at 20% off using the code HAVEN20. Now this is a limited time offer and this will sell out, so get it this December. Anytime in December you can get it for that 20% off, but I'm definitely buying this thing for a couple of my family members and loved ones this holiday season. With this Patriot Brother X2020 flashlight, don't forget that you will never, ever have to buy another battery again, because remember, it's solar powered. So check it out at patriotflashlight.com. Go to patriotflashlight.com right now and take advantage of their special offer. And don't forget, if you use the code HAVEN20, that gets you 20% off of any of the packages that they have available on the website. Well, back to the broadcast. Is the United Nations linked to the president's impeachment? Are the Democrats working hand in hand with the globalist and tyrannical dictators at the UN in order to out the president? You see, the truth of the matter is, the President of the United States has had many accomplishments against the United Nations. In fact, one of the biggest losers ever since President Trump got into office, it wasn't the Democrats. It was, in fact, the United Nations. Take a look at some of the things that he's accomplished over the years. This first one shows on the New York Times that Trump served notice to the UN and quit the Paris Climate Agreement. Also on foreignpolicy.com, Trump choked off funding to United Nations programs. Also NewYorkTimes.com, Trump quits Migration Pact, saying it infringed on sovereignty. AlJazeera.com, Trump ends all funding for UN Palestine Refugee Agency. And NewYorkTimes.com, President Trump withdraws from UN Human Rights Council. When President Trump backed out of compacts and agreements at the UN and further defunded many of their programs, well, the globalists at the United Nations didn't like that too much. In fact, they were raging mad. To top it off, Trump told those tyrannical dictators at the UN that the patriots are in charge of the future, not the globalists. Take a listen.
Wise leaders always put the good of their own people and their own country first. The future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots. The future belongs to sovereign and independent nations who protect their citizens, respect their neighbors, and honor the differences that make each country special and unique. It is why we in the United States have embarked on an exciting program of national renewal.
On that very day, September 24th, 2019, when Trump made that announcement at the United Nations 74th session of the UN General Assembly, the Democrats on the same day, announced their formal impeachment inquiry. Take a look at this article on CNN.com. On September 24th, 2019, Nancy Pelosi calls out President's betrayal of his oath of office and announcing formal impeachment inquiry. Is it any coincidence that on the very same day that President Trump announced to the United Nations that the Patriots are in charge of the future, then Nancy Pelosi takes to her seat of power and announces the formal impeachment proceedings against the president? Let me suggest to you something. They both knew about it. In fact, I believe Nancy Pelosi and many in the Democratic Party, even some in the Republican Party, are in bed with the United Nations. And I believe they conspired together in order to out the President of the United States of America and get him out of office. You see, the United Nations is mad because President Trump took their power, took their compacts and agreements away. Want more evidence of this? On December 5th, President Trump met with United Nations representatives. Take a look at this article on CBSNews.com. President Trump dines with UN Secretary Council representatives after returning from the NATO summit. On that very same day, Nancy Pelosi came out with her second announcement about the impeachment inquiry. On the same day. Take a look at this article on BusinessInsider.com. Nancy Pelosi says House will move forward with articles of impeachment against President Trump. It's as if it was all planned in advance. The same day he gives speeches at the UN, Pelosi makes an announcement about impeachment. The same day he meets with UN representatives, Pelosi makes another announcement. I believe there's a lot more to the story, but it doesn't stop there. You see, the Democrats decided to go against President Trump and basically stab him in the back because President Trump backed out of the climate accord agreements. And so what did 13 Democrats do? Well, they said, we're going to travel and talk to the UN, and we're going to stand with them on the Paris climate accords. Take a look at this article on dailywire.com, December 1st. Hypocrisy. Pelosi and 13 Democrats to fly to the United Nations climate meeting in Spain. You see, they arrived this week, and they already told this climate meeting that they're all in on the climate agreement. Interesting that they are filing this impeachment inquiry against the president. And notice this was all Democrats who are flying to that United Nations meeting to back the UN behind the president's back. Maybe because the United Nations funds the pockets of many Democrats in this country. The dates and times alone speak for themselves. And I have said for a very long time that the United Nations is attempting to take over the U.S. This is it. This is the start of it. And how do they do that? They take out the one block in their way. The one president who is standing against the corruption, who is getting out of the climate accord, who's getting things out of the TPP, who is getting out of the migration compact and defunding the UN. I say it's high time we get the United Nations out of the United States of America. One last thing I want you to remember is this little piece of legislation, H.R. 1111. Now, this hasn't passed Congress. I don't believe it will. But this is the start of the United Nations taking over the U.S. because similar legislation will come. But that resolution, if you didn't recall, basically it turns the U.S. into a United Nations, so to speak, where they literally release UN-style peacekeepers and environmentalists to keep an eye on the American people and make sure they comply with the United Nations Agenda 2030. It's terrifying. Why do you think they want Trump out so bad? Let's not let them win this election 2020. Anyhow, I love you guys. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.